Which one is higher, the amount of abortions in America or the amount of starving children in America?
The amount of starving kids in America.
Oh, that's cap.
That's cap? Did you Google it? Did you Google it?
I don't need to Google it.
You don't need facts. But you know what? Facts don't care about how you feel about it. I need you to Google it.
Some of the people in my circle, bro. So I don't know at this point, dog, because there's been too many people that I know that are not strangers that have been in support, celebrating what took place with Charlie, celebrating his death, dog. Evil, sick, and mental. They're not ready to have that conversation.
See, if you're not willing or you're not interested in that discussion, that's fine. But saying that there's no way to talk people out of forms of extremism.
Yeah, there is a way. There is a way. I'm just saying I'm not signing up for it. You can. I'm not.
Okay. All right, then. Yeah. Okay. But that's very different. If you're saying there is a way and these people can be redeemed, then by definition, they're not evil. They're just in an evil space right now.
Bro, you come on, dog.
You have to admit, if you can talk people, but think about that. Hold up. It's logical. It's logical.
Yeah, but you literally have idiots, demented, fucking demon ass bitches out here supporting the shit, dog. So y'all die on that sword, bro. Y'all keep barking that shit. Y'all keep talking that shit. Y'all are giving the other side a reason. Y'all gonna fuck around and find out. It's like, even if I was up here on some kumbaya shit and telling people to simmer down and, don't run with it, bro. It's just, mental health shit. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. The cat is out the fucking bag and motherfuckers are waiting for a reason to pop off. And now you gave motherfuckers the ultimate reason to pop off because you took out the ultimate right-winger, bro. You took out the top of the fucking food chain. The only thing higher than that is fucking Trump. You missed out on that motherfucker. And this shit's worse because you actually took Kirk out, and Kirk ain't a politician. All he does is speak his truth. All he does is try to make his version of America great again. He's not invading on nobody's rights. He's not forcing people to do shit they don't want to do. All he's doing is having intelligent discourse with fucking retards for the most part and got his life taken for it. So what that means is that there's no talking. There's no talking. Y'all keep that fucking energy, bruh. Cause, shit is real now.
I know that intro was a lot, so I decided to come to a very comfortable and safe place. Because I know there was a lot of passion in that intro, but just know that that was not emotion. That was just simply logic mixed in with feelings and opinions. Because in today's video, we have to talk about Stevie Knight, or Stevie White Knight, which would make sense considering he's always trying to white knight for the white people. But it does feel kind of ironic considering as of day of recording right now today, Stevie Knight seems to be trying to rebrand. He seems to be trying to renew his black card because he's out here actually dropping videos trying to hold men accountable for talking mad shit to women. Because he couldn't just pinpoint the fact that it was black women because that's all it was on the video. But I will dive into that probably in another video because we have a whole lot to talk about here today. Because we need to talk about how Stevie is always saying that everything is out of context. And speaking of out of context, how about we just go ahead and go through the definition of out of context, which is the circumstances in which something is said is not correctly reported, so that it seems to mean something different from the meaning that was intended. That's what out of context means. And I know for a fact that Stevie Knight does not know what that is. And now I'm mixing in facts the same way that Stevie likes to mix in facts, which really is just opinions that can't be substantiated by anything actually factual, but neither here nor there. We're just going to go ahead and dive into some of this today because I am going to say I really am struggling though. Like on a serious note, I'm struggling to find something to say because some of my YouTube buddies out here, whether it's Watch TV, Illogics, Jew Almighty, have already dove into this topic. They've already dove all into Stevie, pause, and they made sure they ripped him a new asshole. And they've done very well, especially considering Illogics, who made a video this morning as of recording where he absolutely filleted Stevie. It was a slow, methodical evisceration of that man's arguments against his own arguments. It was just his word against his own word. Completely hypocritical shit the entire video. I mean, it was a magnificent 43 minutes, and I'm going to have that video tagged in the description. So feel free to check that out, because I'm telling you, Logic's channel is moving, it's growing, and it's doing good things. And we need to be on board for that as well. So continue to grow, sir, because I like the direction that you are going. But I will say, Stevie was legitimately, after that video, more cooked than the potluck that was in the oven of the movie Soul Food after Ahmad burnt down the kitchen. It was a very terrible thing to witness. I'm talking about, there's nothing left of Stevie. If he was questioning how dark he was, nah, man, I'm telling you, he's burnt now. There ain't shit left, just ashes. And it was something to behold. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. I have to ask, what is more traumatizing? Watching an individual, yes, it may be live on air or live on TV or internet live, whatever you want to say, you could see it as it happened. This man gets shot. Yeah, it's gory, pretty ugly, nasty, horrific to see, but it's quick. Or would you rather witness somebody get suffocated with a knee in the back of their neck slowly? Takes a long time, to the point where you see that their life is leaving their body. Their soul is disappearing. It's grasping, you know what I'm saying? Like he's reaching for it, but he can't get there. And you see that happen over a stretch of like 20 minutes. Which one do you really think is more traumatizing? Seeing somebody slowly being choked to death, or somebody being shot and their life ending quickly? Both terrible, both unfortunate, both should have never happened. But which one do you think is more traumatizing? Leave it in the comments. One of the many things we're going to be going over in today's video is Stevie's fixation on the term food insecurities. We will also be diving into the fact that Stevie has zero foundation as a man, zero principles that he stands behind. We'll be diving into his hypocritical beliefs on pro-life, and we will also be discussing how this man got absolutely served by a reality TV star in the ring. No, seriously, like he got absolutely KO'd in the ring. Stevie went night-night in the ring. I mean, it was amazing to see. No real puns on the name, like that wasn't intentional, but it does make sense to what happened to him in the ring. Like honestly, like I'm surprised people don't just like troll him to this day and call him Stevie Night-Night for what happened. You know what? Look, I'm gonna save my critique about this until the end of the video, but let's go ahead and hit the edit.
God damn!
Reach for the sky. That's what it felt like Stevie was doing here. Reaching for the sky, reaching for the stars. All I know is he was doing a whole bunch of reaching. I made a reference talking about a tapeworm that he was reaching and pulling out of his asshole, and he could never find the end of it, because that's what it felt like he was doing during his ramble. He just kept reaching for things to say, things to find. He was scrambling so bad up there. It was really rough for Stevie. Like, I found it really hard not to laugh during that, because this felt like when a student lines up for a PowerPoint presentation that they were completely unprepared for. They knew none of the information, they knew nothing that was on the slides, and they went out there and tried to completely bullshit the presentation, and it sounded about like that. And at the end of the presentation, the teacher was like, "You really didn't know this shit, did you?" It was like a whole bunch of files just went flying all over Stevie's brain, and they were trying to search for the right ones, and they couldn't find any of them. It was just paper everywhere, and all the people that were trying to work in Stevie's brain were just panicking. And that's what was going on. It was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm outmatched in this debate. What am I doing here? I don't belong in this situation. I'm getting cooked. I'm getting cooked, and people know this, and I need to find a way to defend myself here, and I need to find a way to flip this back onto Abba, which he definitely did in this. Now officially, as of this time of recording, Watch TV and Jew Almighty have dropped their rectum obliterating videos on Stevie the White Knight. Now, if you've been crazy enough to consume all of that content and you find yourself landing here at Random University, then I pray by the end of this video that you will still have the ability to read and write. Because with the heightened levels of hypocrisy and the nuclear levels of stupidity, you will truly be in danger of losing your motor functions.
You just debate just to prove a point, and the facts didn't matter. I'll provide that clip so y'all can see when I pose that question. I haven't even looked up the stats. Just know, literally to the sense of starvation. When you saw ChatGPT said starving is almost non-existent in America, bro.
Do you guys even Google this stuff? Do you guys even look into it? But you speak confidently against this stuff that's hurting hundreds and thousands of kids. And I'm like, I don't get it.
Which one is higher, the amount of abortions in America or the amount of starving children in America?
The amount of starving kids in America.
Oh, that's cap.
That's cap? Did you Google it?
I don't need to Google it, but...
You don't need facts. But you know what? Facts don't care about how you feel about it. I need you to Google it.
Okay. Well, if we're pushing the goalposts and saying children that are not getting their meals or don't know where their next meal is coming from, that's another conversation to be had. I clearly kept repeating starve.
Well, anyway, I was thinking that might have been my favorite part of the debate, but it might not be, because this next part was very interesting as well, because they dove into the very big topic of food insecurity and starvation, and which one did Abba really mean? And that's when Stevie really was trying to flip this on Abba.
In America. So short answer, about 13 to 14 million children in the U.S. live in food insecure households in 2023. What the fuck does food insecure mean? A bit more detail on what those words mean. Most official counts use the term food insecure, not the clinical word starving. Food insecurity means a household sometimes lacked enough money or resources or other resources for adequate food. It ranges from worrying about running out of food to skipping meals. According to USDA, ERS, and major anti-hunger groups, nearly 14 million children live in a food insecure household in 2023. That represented about 1 child in 5 experiencing some level of food insecurity during the year. Local conditions vary a lot. Some countries and communities have much higher child food insecurity rates. Important distinction: starving describes severe malnutrition and is relatively rare in the U.S. The larger measurable problem is food insecurity. People missing meals, cutting portion sizes, or not having reliable access to nutritious food. Surveys show many parents skip or reduce their own meals to feed children, so child hunger is a serious public health and developmental issue, even if full clinical starvation is uncommon. I mean, so we're talking about two different things, but
now this is clearly going to come from when Stevie was reacting to the Abba and him debate, when he was actually going over it and trying to justify the things that he was saying, and basically said everything about Abba was disingenuous and Abba's a backstabbing asshole who can't be trusted and a grifter and he ain't shit. And that's basically what Stevie came to the conclusion of at the end of his video, which made no sense after all the hypocrisies and the fact that he can't look himself in the mirror. Oh my God, well, let's get to it.
Go out, oh yeah, you know what, my lunch break, let me go to this food bank real quick. It's okay to be wrong and say, like, you know what, hey, you're right.
And then afterwards, it kept getting colder and colder. He's like, you know, all these EBT stamps, you get food stamps. I'm like, you want a 10-year-old to get food stamps? Like, y'all know. And then it kept going. And at one point, he just said, well, listen, man, it is what it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and the world's not perfect, dog. It's not utopia, bro. So it's like, and then I'm a capitalist, dog. I'm not in support of the government coming out taking care of everything. Conversation was about Kirk and how he demonizes Kirk, right? When he posed the question to me, I said I wouldn't be against the government if that passed. I said I wouldn't be against the government if that passed, right? It is what it is. I know it's a problem. I never said what I want to do about it. I could care less. So, like, it is what it is, dog. This life is fucking hard, dog. And some children are born in fucked up circumstances, bro. It is what it is.
If you talk like that about kids not having access to food, is it any wonder why people think you guys are monsters?
Bro, here we go, bro. He taking me out of context again. See, Abba ain't shit. He ain't shit, bro. I thought he was shit, but he ain't.
Stop.
Shit.
I hate that defense that conservatives use. It's always taken out of context. You say what you're saying just because there's some background information doesn't change the context of the clip. If you say hungry kids is a problem but shit happens, then that's what that means.
Not realize, chat, how many people actually do not know what it means to be taken out of context. Just because I don't play a full clip, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm taking you out of context.
Agree and act like I'm the one that's out of line. It's insane.
Bruh, I can't agree more when it comes to that whole you took him out of bro. There's literally there's no context. There's no context in the world that could save what the fuck you just said. And it's not like these are statements that could be taken one way or another. They're very blatant when we react to them. So that's why if we don't play the rest of the clip, just like with Officer Tatum and the whole Rosa Parks shit, like that made no sense. Like, did you know she had a car?
There is this idea when you think about Rosa Parks and what she did, and everybody thinks she's so heroic. And I used to appreciate what she did and others did until I started researching and finding out the truth. Do you know Rosa Parks never had a car? Why did they stage that incident instead of it being a genuine incident where white people were discriminated against blacks? They staged it.
You're like, oh man, you took him out of context, my nigga. How?
Stevie's big thing here is that Abba was trying to use this clip out of context. When we heard the clip and heard it in its context,
He said that he thinks that the parents should take care of it.
No, he said, pull it up right now.
We have churches, we have food shelters, we have billions, and it does not exist. We have a child obesity problem, not a child starvation problem in this country. That 50% of our kids are obese or overweight. There's not a single kid in America that has died of starvation in the last 10 years. Show me that kid. Show me. This is a propaganda thing from the Democrat Party. Our kids are so overweight, they have type 2 diabetes by the age of 8. So the number one problem for kids right now is that they're not moving enough and they're eating too much, not that there's child starvation. Instead, let's get back to a time where we say, hey, parents feed your kids, churches feed your kids, communities feed your kids, not big daddy government coming in and doing what the family should do. With that, I say thank you guys so much and have a great day.
but see, the whole thing turned out to be it was food insecurities and not actual starvation, which in Stevie's world, which is kind of ironic to me, is really food insecurity is just the woke version of starvation.
This is food insecurity. Starving and food insecurity are entirely two different things. You saw the stat. It says starvation is extremely uncommon, extremely rare in America, but they came up with a new definition or a new problem labeled food insecurity, which means you may not have adequate food available, you may skip meals, you're still eating, you're not starving.
So the fact that Stevie wants to cling to the whole food insecurities, and I didn't know what food insecurities was and stuff, is kind of crazy to me. Because why would he want to cling to the woke term of the original term? Because originally it was called starvation. That's what they actually labeled it as. And now they actually wanted to, clean it up and make it a little bit softer for everybody because they didn't want everybody to feel bad. Because guess what? I guess they weren't really on the point of starvation. But in Stevie's mind and in Stevie's world, basically the expectation for starvation is if you actually are having like bone showing. You need your ribs poking through the skin. You need to show some skin out and bleeding. You need to really be in pain, bent over, pop bellies is really what he said.
I gave you one example.
What is
if he's at school and teachers are aware of what the fuck's going on and they see a damn child coming in there looking emaciated, I don't know what teachers, but I've seen instances where teachers step in and get the correct party involved to help said children.
And he really wanted to cling to that shit. He never wanted to let that go. But I guess in Stevie's world, the standard for food insecurity is if you're walking around looking like the kid that was in the attic of Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1. The one who looked like Doug, who had starved himself to death and was just rotting upstairs. I mean, that's the standard for Stevie. Maybe if you're walking around looking like that, Stevie's like, all right, maybe we can give the little punk a sandwich. I mean, maybe that's what we can do. We can just, maybe give him a Capri Sun. That's it. Nothing special. As a matter of fact, since his parents have crashed out and left him in that attic, he needs to find a way to go get some food. There's effing programs.
And I'm going to reiterate, there's government programs that literally focus on this. Feeding the hungry.
Now, to me, the other funny part about these kids, outside of the kids needing to go search and find their own food program so they don't find a way to starve to death in their house if their parents are basically on crack cocaine, which that is the case in some households. Some of the parents are messed out and they don't provide anything. They take all the EBTs for themselves and they don't spend it on the kids. I already talked about it on this channel before, about this 32-year-old man who had been locked in his house since he was like 10 years old. And he basically grew up to be 5'9" and 68 pounds when he had tried to burn down the house so he can escape for his freedom. They had held him captive. I don't know why. And guess where it was from? The foster kid system. That's where it was from. Apparently they actually had snacks. They had cakes. They had actual, a refrigerator that wasn't completely hoarded and filled with roaches. It actually was clean. They could actually eat edible food. And he was fed almost nothing. They said he was given 2 sandwiches, but there was nothing ever said about what was in them. For all we know, he really did have 2 wish sandwiches. I mean, it was really sad. I mean, that is an awful thing to think about. And it got to the point where obviously time has gone along. And when you're so malnourished, if this is all you're getting for years, because they have him captive in this house for years. Like I said, the man is 32 years old now. He was in there for over 2 decades. Getting fed like this, chained into the house for reasons that nobody can explain. Nobody understands why this happened to this kid. Apparently some of this was blamed on the father, when it doesn't make any sense why. Well, not his father, but the stepfather. The stepfather involved apparently was the guy who was manipulating this whole situation, making all of this come true. When come to find out, this guy was actually bound to a wheelchair for quite a few years. He got sick. I guess karma hit him a lot faster than it hit the stepmom, and thus he ended up dying. And he had been dead for the previous year before the incident took place that actually ended up freeing this guy. So basically this guy was Cinderella, oppressed in his home. Even worse, as bad as it was for Cinderella, he didn't have any friends. He didn't have any mice to talk to. He didn't have any critters to say hey to that would dance with him and have jokes and fun times. No, none of that existed. Just misery and hell in a cluttered and nasty ass room. When cops discovered it later, they said it was worse than a jail cell. But what led to the cops getting there? Well, obviously, over time, he got fed up and he planned this escape. He was planning it over a year in advance. He had taken a lighter from his stepfather over a year in advance while that man was in that wheelchair, and he held onto it. Found out that Germex was flammable, and then he had some paper in his room. He decided that he was going to light that place on fire so he could get out. Because obviously the only way that he could get attention to getting somebody up there was if he was to burn the house down. That's how desperate he got. So obviously the stepmother had panicked and she called 911. Thank God that she did. She called 911, right? So he's upstairs. She's got to undo the shackles. She's got to undo the lock so he can be freed from the room, so he can actually go to freedom. Hopefully so, right? Crazy thing, right? So once he decides he's going to escape, she hits him with the hope. Hey, could you stop by the bathroom? I know the house is on fire and everything, and I know that we're in danger, and I know that you're probably going to struggle to escape considering what I'm about to expose about your body. But could you please stop by and wash your face up? Because the cops are going to show up and I really don't want them to see all the, this and start asking questions, because if they start asking questions, they're going to wonder like what happened here. And why did you burn this room down? Well, since she was the cowardly individual she was the whole time, she showed her true colors by just going ahead and escaping the home. She left. She completely left. She left ground. She wasn't even there. The cops had to go find her once they got there. Firefighters got there. And what happened was he laid down in the kitchen. He just laid there. That way, he didn't have to go with her. He laid down in the kitchen. That way, the firefighters would have to come find him and get him. And when they found him, they found a grown man that was 5'9" and 68 pounds.
Again!
5'9" and 68 pounds. You might be wondering, how the hell was this guy still alive? I was wondering the same thing. Like, how could he walk? Like, he didn't die already? Well, like I was saying earlier, the human body can survive and do a whole lot. It is truly mind over matter when it comes to the human body. The brain will do a whole lot of stuff to help persevere you. So like whenever somebody has a heinous injury playing football, they snap their leg in two. You see bones sticking out of skin and it's completely traumatic. People are staring, oh my God, can you see what happened out there? Jesus Christ, what? No, not that. I mean, I remember when that happened. It's traumatic. But the thing is, you don't feel the injury. You don't feel it, at least at first. You're in shock. Your brain is telling you, no, relax. There's no pain down there. You're good. Don't pay attention to anything that's going on. You're fine. You're like, okay, I'm fine. And then people tell you, don't look down. And they throw a towel over your leg. And then you realize, oh my God, my leg is completely split in half. And then you start to panic and then the pain starts setting in. But the thing is the brain protects you for a good chunk of time while you're in that immense amount of pain. You don't even die when your head is chopped off. For a good second, like your head is just floating like, oh no. And you're still alive. Like you're still gonna live. You're like, you might actually bounce before it's over. Like that's crazy to think about. But this poor guy had just lived a very horrible life. And it's really sad to think that somebody had to suffer like that because their parents put him up for adoption and his mom was actually trying to reach out for him. She didn't want him to live a life like this. She wanted him to live a better life. And she was really emotional. She was the one who showed a lot of emotion, which you would think the stepmother who had been, involved in his life for the previous 30 something years, basically, that, she would care. She did not. She lied to the cops, tried to make up stories, fallacies about what was going on. Obviously, clearly. Hell, the only time this kid got to leave the house pretty much when he was younger was one time when they got to dump leaves at the dump. She tried to blame the husband for what was going on. And it's like, ma'am, didn't he die a year ago? Why was he still in the room then? He died. If he was the one calling the shots, you could have just freed him at any point in time. So that story makes zero sense. So why would you lie to us about that? That's ridiculous. Okay, I really imagine this here. So much time has went by. You've been stuck in isolation so long you don't know what year it is. The only way he was able to keep track of what year it was by sticking his head out the window and paying attention to NASCAR races and UConn basketball games. That was the only way he knew what year it was. He's not going to be all right. I mean, he's going to be able to get some rehabilitation. They're going to be able to pump some fluids and some foods into him and getting him to be like a more normal sized human again. But he's never going to be able to get over this mentally. I mean, he's got to be shot. There's no way you can just rebound from this. Lifetime, of therapy. I mean, I hope somebody's paying for these lessons. Thank God they didn't show his body on the cam. They just blurred it out. But I know somebody had a sight of what he looked like. But just think about how crazy and how horrific that story is. Stories like that happen all the time. Just another crazy white family out there that exists in some random neighborhood. This story did not get the attention that it deserves. Just think about how horrific, how terrible this crime is. There's not enough years for this woman to rot away in a prison. I don't know how long you sentence her. I mean, you can sentence her to 50 life sentences, but there isn't enough years in purgatory. There's not a temperature hot enough to make her body crispy enough. I'm sorry. There's nothing to make her pay enough for the horrific crimes that she committed. And Stevie was over here acting like you should just throw kids away to the foster system. Like, oh, that's just better for them, isn't it? Especially if the parents are no good. No, Abba was like, have you heard about the foster care system? It's not good. You know why? Because people end up in situations just like that.
Fucking food, dog. Food stamps, bro. The homeless don't go hungry, bro. They can go get a meal if they want to get a meal.
You're comparing children to homeless. Have you not been a child before? Do you think kids know where to... Yeah, but the teacher...
Call parties that do this for a living to find children the resources that they need. Like, teachers do this all the time. They'll see a child that may be neglected and they'll make the calls or alert people to, intervene.
You want to call child services? You want to put them in foster care?
It may be better than having the shooty ass parents.
Have you looked into foster care, Stevie? Have you Googled foster care?
Yeah, but you're describing these parents as ain't shit, bro. Like it is.
Nigga! Do you agree with there's a lot of bad parents out there?
Absolutely.
Do you know that there's a lot? Hold on. Do you agree with there's a lot of bad parents out there?
Absolutely.
I know. I cover them. I cover them every day. There's a lot of ain't shit parents. There's a lot of ain't shit. You cover them. How many videos have you done about baby mamas? How many videos have you done about baby mamas and dog shit parents? If I go to your channel right now, I'll find dozens, hundreds of videos. So you want teachers to call those parents and be like, hey, feed your kids.
Also, he kept talking about how these teachers are supposed to be able to pinpoint these things. That's their job. When it's like, dude, these teachers barely get paid enough money to do their own job as is.
Teachers are aware of, good teachers are aware of their students' conditions, man, and if they notice something off, maybe they may notice a child looking extra hungry. It's the same thing as like if they notice, a child that may be getting abused at the home. They're gonna make calls necessary to rectify the situation. They see a child that may look like they're hungry, they're eating super aggressive.
Now you're expecting these teachers who are basically out here wearing these. First of all, have you seen the standard of teachers that we have nowadays? Most of them can't even spell or read or write them damn selves. You got BBL teachers out there thirsting up for the students. Every time I look up on the news, I see another sexy ass teacher that done slept with their kids. Now, some of the examples I'm giving you today aren't them, but I will show you that these people have been convicted. They are criminals, have all slept with minors. That's what's going on in the schools. That and teachers out here getting BBLs and big old titty jobs just so they can impress an 18-year-old. Actually, that is way too high. Get rid of that one. An 8-year-old. That's essentially what they're trying to provide out here. Titties for the kids. But Stevie thinks these are the individuals we should be trusting to make sure that kids who are going without food at home is going to be able to be detected by these individuals. People whose focus is clearly not in the right place. I don't think they're going to notice that little Timmy has been starving for the last 3 weeks.
At the home, they're going to make calls necessary to rectify the situation. They see a child that may look like they're hungry, you know what I mean? They're eating super aggressive at the cafeteria, or maybe they're, going through other people's food or whatnot. Like, teachers are able to observe. We're being nitpicky. The beginning of this conversation, maybe I brought it up. Oh, he brought it up. He said, how was Kirk, the same person that is, pro-life, anti-abortion, so inconsiderate of the children that are suffering from, I don't know if it was food insecurity or food uncertainty, whatever label they created for that.
This man's going to take forever to say it. Abba's point was basically, y'all want to force people to have kids because you are anti-abortion, but then you don't want to provide resources for people that might be struggling once they have kids, or provide resources to those kids who might have struggling parents. So it's really callous in that aspect. Like, you want to force people to have kids and then be like, fuck those kids after they're born, which I think was a really good point that Abba made.
Stevie was going in like Ned Flanders' wife from The Simpsons when it came to protecting kids from these trans people. But now when it comes to protecting kids from malnourishment, starvation, food insecurities, he ain't got nothing else to say. It's F them kids.
When Abba presented the fact that what do the kids do to get this food, he had no answer, and it kept going back to the government resources, or the teachers in the school who get underpaid already are supposed to already add to their long list of shit to do every day, and be like, oh my God, now I got to look out for these kids that aren't even mine, on top of like already teaching hundreds of kids each and every day, on top of these ridiculous lesson plans, on top of the stress of having to deal with these kids that I can no longer retaliate against, that be wilding out in the schools, be damn near beat my ass, threaten me every day. I have to make sure I'm looking out for the kids that aren't getting food at home, and also reach out to social services to make sure they get what they need. Insane. And he's like, he actually expects these people to do that. Like,
yeah, it's fucking stupid. Because like you said, teachers are already underpaid, bro. So it would just be easier for there to be a system for these kids to have food. And it's insane, because if you're in the army, you feed your soldiers. If you are in jail, you have to feed your prisoners. So, but you're meaning to tell me you want everybody to have children, you want everybody to have kids, and like Abba said, but when they're here, it's just fuck them, right? It's actually insane. So like, I have a friend back in Virginia. She's a teacher, and she's been making posts on her stories consistently about like how her kids, like, a lot of them can't afford snacks, and they have like snack time or whatever. She's literally have been begging people to donate snacks. So I donated like 3 baskets of snacks to her classroom because the kids did not have anything to eat. That is fucking insane. That should not even be the case.
Right. But see, that points to the part where he was talking about, don't bad parents exist? And they're like, well, yeah, bad parents exist. And he was like, okay, so what do you do to help the kids? Well, there's resources for that shit. It's like, dude, that doesn't make any sense. That's the part that kept going back and forth. That it was.
And like Jew pointed out on his channel, dude, most of the times when these situations get like pointed out, it's way too late anyway.
There are 30 kids in the class. By the time a teacher notices a kid is hungry, malnutrition, not getting sleep at home, not changing clothes, it could be weeks into the process. Like, a kid could already be too far gone by then to even help in a real way. That's if a teacher even notices, which they're not obligated to do, because some people are just there for the check. Some people don't have passion to even, be there for the kids, especially if you go to like a charter school or something like that. But on top of that, the simple fact that he couldn't even identify who the teacher was supposed to call if they did notice that would happen.
The kid's gone. Sometimes they end up missing. Like when I was talking about the story that I had mentioned earlier, dude, those parents had taken that kid out of the school a while back. People had searched out for that kid. They had taken him off grid. It wasn't like people weren't looking for him. They just couldn't find him.
Percent of households have like technically a hunger issue, bro, but people are not starving to death in America.
He said 1% out of his ass.
Okay.
It's a fact.
1%. I want to know where he got that from.
Out his ass.
It was out of his ass.
Have with like people who are pro-life, and not you specifically, but people like Charlie Kirk, they're so obsessed with keeping fetuses alive, they pretend it's like this big virtue. And then when a child is born, they're like, fuck you, your parents take care of you. It's actually probably one of the most hypocritical, and this is why I think Charlie Kirk is probably a shitty person to me, is that he spent all this time being anti-abortion, but when it comes to every government initiative that's meant to protect kids and keep them good, he was always against it. And to me, it's like, what's the fucking point of keeping this fetus alive if when it comes out, you're like, yo, fuck you, kid. And that's what he did. He said that guy was...
He said, fuck you, kid?
No, he did it, but he might as well.
Come on, man.
Like, constantly championing everything that's anti-public sector, or sorry, government involved.
That was what he was trying to say.
Kids. Like, even you saying there's no starvation is like so disingenuous. If you just Google it, there's like so many kids today here in America, you could look it up, the statistics, that have malnutrition, that have food scarcity, that have all these problems. It stunts their growth. It fucks them up in terms of their academic success. And for you guys to sit there and think that food lunches for kids is a crazy idea and parents should take care of them. Some parents are dog shit. Some parents don't take care of their kids. And so that's why these school lunches happen, so that kids who go to school get a meal. But people like Charlie Kirk, and then you did the same thing, are like, oh, the parents take care of it. That's fucking stupid. And I'm like, do you guys even Google this stuff? Do you guys even look into it? But you speak confidently against this stuff that's hurting hundreds and thousands of kids. And I'm like, I don't get it.
Like, first of all, like, does he not understand, like, the hunger issue is why people end up looking like Charlie Kirk?
I want one ad hominem this stream. Reasons that people like Charlie Kirk and Caroline Levitt age is because having that much hate in your heart can only age you, bro. Because
for sure.
I swear to God, before when I first got introduced to Charlie Kirk, I was like, he at least 40, 37, if I'm being nice. Bro, younger than me. So I was
younger than me too.
I was just like, whoa, what? Like, how is he younger than me? Caroline Levitt, why is she not even 30? She looks 48.
It's also going to be an ad hominem, but it is a known fact that if you are overly evil, your gums overtake your teeth.
Shut the fuck up.
It's a fact. Look it up.
I was thinking about Charlotte's Web recently. You know, that movie we were forced to watch as kids a billion times when we were in elementary school. The one that we had to watch even more than Where the Red Fern Grows, a very terrible story, and an even worse movie that we were forced to watch year after year. Though maybe that was partially my fault because I did have to repeat a grade, but still, I had to watch it too many times. But I was also thinking how stupid the movie was. Like, not the fact that like it was an animated movie, because it was for kids, so I get sometimes the premise of a children's movie can be a little bit silly, but it's the fact that not only did they just make this movie about some pig who had survived slaughter to befriend all the animals out there on the farm, and then all of a sudden it got to the point where these farmers, these idiotic southern people that, I mean, they made these, I don't even know if they were from the South, they might have been from like Missouri or something like that, but anyway, they painted these country white folks to be flat out idiots. Like, if I was a white person, I would have been offended by Charlotte's Web, by what they displayed to them growing up, because these people were dumb. They actually believed like this pig was weaving webs. Like, somehow on this farm, it was a crazy thing that these animals could talk already as is, but the fact that you got a spider that was actually intelligent enough to actually learn the English language and be able to spell it out and crochet it into spider webs was another concept altogether. But what made the people the most stupid is they thought the pig was the one that was actually weaving the webs. Out of what? Its pigtail? Its nose? Its snout? I mean, I'm trying to figure out, where did you think the webs were coming from? Its pee-pee hole? I mean, come on, man. Like, I mean, where did you think it was webbing? How? Where did it learn to read? Just like the spider, but at least I could believe the spider as opposed to the pig. I mean, come on now. Like, you really thought Wilbur was that intelligent? Like, he was that talented? Damn, this really was some pig. Like, y'all were some idiots if you really thought that this pig was weaving that. Well, hell, also thinking about some pig, if this pig was actually weaving webs and weave some pig in there, I would think that this pig is a douche, because the next word was radiant. And then the next word was terrific. Oh yeah, thinking really highly of yourself, don't you, Wilbur? My goodness. Where's the humbleness over here? Oh, humble was the last word. And the last thing I would think about this pig that was weaving these words up in this web is thinking that this pig was actually humble. I would think he was an arrogant jerk. That's what I would think about Wilbur, because Wilbur was self-conceited and constantly putting out his message to the world, saying that how spectacular he was so he can get to the fair. Even though that's not really what was happening, but that's what they did. They took this pig to the fair and tried to actually sell people on the fact that this pig was weaving webs. But the fact that Charlotte did not die on time was able to pull off this last miracle and actually trick these idiots into believing that this pig was actually spinning webs. I mean, incredible. Absolutely insane plot holes and ridiculousness that I observe in these movies. But I mean, I still like Charlotte's Web, and it was a cute movie. But I mean, the whole aspect of that, like, these people were not depicted. Wow. Like, I went to school with a lot of white folks. I was token a lot. And what I find the most insane now as an adult is that none of these kids ever thought that this movie was offensive. It was offensive to me now that I'm thinking about it. I wonder how they process that now as adults. Curious. Speaking of good versus evil, I believe this is the perfect opportunity to bring this up during this video. When they were talking about what is good, what is evil, Stevie had a whole lot of thoughts.
There was a point where before I had this transition of perspective, and I was more of a liberal. I can't even say I was more of a liberal, bro. I've always had conservative values, man. But as far as the race element and the black power element and the victim mindset, I was thoroughly immersed in it. That was my perspective, man. And anything that went against the way that I viewed the world, I deemed the devil. You know what I'm saying? And there was once upon a time, maybe it was 2025, maybe like 4 years ago. I forgot when my journey started, bro, but I used to look at Officer Tatum the way that y'all look at me. Like, man, fuck this guy.
Now, that came from his most recent video when he was upset about people calling him a Sly Cooper, a trash panda, and all the really bad negative terms that are basically the PC terms of all the really bad terms of what he is nowadays. And that was pretty triggering for Stevie, and he had to fight back. Just like with all of these things with Abba, he had to fight back, he had to push back, and he had to come out here and try to redeem himself the best he could out here on the internet. Like I was saying during our live stream, was like he was trying to redeem what last bit of blackness he feels like he has. He also, like, look, I'm not one of those who really believes like you have to be left or right to be black and all this stupid stuff. Like, you're black. That's just like my honest opinion. But I do say this stuff facetiously and to the point, like, he does seem to struggle with his identity. Like, he doesn't seem to really enjoy being a brother anymore. Like he doesn't like what we represent when he is still that. He really does try to cape up for the other side, and it's like, dude, I don't think you understand how much you're on your knees for them, how much you really love Charlie. Like, you do talk like Charlie is your Gandhi, like he's your Dolly Parton. I mean, what else has he done? Hell, I would, as a matter of fact, at this point in time, I would start to think he was the first Hokage with how much you think he was trying to change the world. You really think he was one of those individuals, a godlike figure? Is that how people were really following him out here? Because that is confusing to me if so. Like, I really don't get how you can get to this level of worship with this man. Like, you don't understand. You are part of the cult. Because Stevie doesn't understand that he was already drinking one side of the Kool-Aid. Like, all he did was turn in his blue Kool-Aid for red Kool-Aid. And that's all he did. He's exactly the same person for the exact opposite side.
It's fucking hard, dog, and some children are born in fucked up circumstances, bro. It is what it is.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I think a lot of people would hear your stance or hear Charlie Kirk's stance and say, you guys aren't the best people because you don't seem to care about making sure that other people in society are okay, right? You guys are more focused on being capitalists and taking care of yourselves, which is okay. Do that. But if people want to look at you and say, well, you guys spread hate out there or you guys spread selfishness, I think that's okay. I think I'll be allowed to do that.
I never said that was a problem. I said people can say whatever the fuck they want to say. My issue with people was celebrating his death, like championing pom-pom and that shit. That's
yeah,
the epitome of evil to me.
Emotional place, and that's what you're doing right now. You're letting the passion and the emotion of the moment govern how you're viewing the world. Yes, you are.
You misquoting me, bro. Have a intervention or a coming to God moment, then you can be saved. But before that, nah. And then I'm not Christian. I'm not no holier than thou motherfucker.
Fair.
Yeah, man. I know people may receive that wrong, dog. But like, you fuck around and find out. Hopefully, you figure that shit out before you find out. You misquoting me, dog. I'm saying there is emotion tied to it, bro. I'm a human being. I'm not a fucking machine. Our concept is trying to paint Kirk as a monster because he's going to force his 10-year-old daughter to have a child.
They'll see him still as a monster. That section was about the fact that some people view him as a monster.
Stevie really doesn't understand what being emotional is. I debate people like this all the time. Like, they're in my family. Hell, some of my friends are this way. They are individuals who really don't understand when they're getting emotional. They could be screaming at you, veins popping up out of their head, literally sweating, dropping it on you, and they will still say that they are being calm, cool, and collected when everything about them says that their heart is about to burst at any moment, which is the exact opposite of calm, cool, and collected. But that is exactly the reality that they're living in, a world of delusion, tier 1 of delusion, if you're gonna ask me, because it goes to a point where, like, you know what? What's going on? Why can you not handle a conversation where somebody just has a point that's counter to yours? You know what I'm saying? You always talk about this open dialogue. You believe, hell, your hero, Charlie Kirk, was about having all these open debates, right? But for whatever reason, when people like Stevie and these other individuals get in these debates and they get called out about their opinions, about their no stances on anything, they all of a sudden get triggered. But then if you say they get triggered, they get even more triggered and feel and like just refuse to acknowledge what that is.
You know what I'm saying? But I told you, the reason why I feel comfortable having this perspective on it is because logically, I know that there's no way to talk these people out of it. Because logically, there's no point in trying to engage in conversations with these heathens because they're not trying to talk. My take, you know what I mean? If you recently saw my debate with Abba, when I said, you know, evil is evil and they can stay over there, they can all burn. The reason why I feel comfortable having this perspective on it is because logically, I know that there's no way to talk these people out of it. That's a waste of time. That's a waste of effort for what?
What's this logic? This logic that you can't talk people out of extremism.
There's no talking to any of these extremists, these evil mother out of their frame of mind until they take their own journey to do it. I'm not gonna sit here wasting my time trying to take them out when they not ready to have that conversation.
If you're not willing or you're not interested in that discussion, that's fine. But saying that there's no way to talk people out of forms of
there is a way. There's a way. I'm just saying I'm not signing up for it. You can. I'm not.
He keeps saying that they're not willing to have this conversation when the they he's talking about is people like Abba. His people like, you know, hey, me, Watts, Logix, Jew, individuals like that. He keeps saying that we're not willing to have the conversation. When clearly we are, and most of us seem to be way more open-minded than people like Stevie. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but all the people who really seem to want to rock the red MAGA hats always seem to be individuals who always scream oppression, victimhood, and y'all are out to get me. But yet they keep saying that about the opposite side. The levels of hypocrisy are literally nuclear. I'm telling you, it's crazy how much these people contradict themselves on a regular, and they just don't seem to realize it. I don't even know what kind of disease you have to realize this. I mean, it's sort of like the people who always say they're just like Trump fans, they're just like Shoutout Sanders fans. They're the exact same people. Indoctrinated, so drunk off the Kool-Aid, they realize they just refuse to see how anything else can be different. Like, people talk so highly of Shoutout Sanders, and I love Shoutout Sanders. I actually really think he's a great quarterback. Yeah, he's getting screwed over in Cleveland like that right now, but guess what? That's just life. Crap happens. That is really what crap happens. Not the stuff that freaking Stevie's trying to defend where, you know, a children is born in a situation where they cannot handle, and it's like, you know what, tough titty. I guess you're just going to be broken, malnourished, and child, you know, neglect forever. No, this is a situation where somebody had everything. Life is great. They got money. They seem to be happy, but everybody else who's their fans are actually more upset than they are about the situation they're in. Shoutout Sanders seems to be perfectly fine with his situation, but his fans seem to be crashing out over him. They can't seem to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, maybe he isn't a great, tier 1 athlete. He doesn't have tier 1 arm. He's a really good quarterback, but guess what? Maybe he's not the best one in the league. Not saying that he can't start or he's not going to start, but the way these people talk about Shoutout Sanders and worship him, you would think he's better than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I swear to God, you would think so. But yet they don't think that when they're talking about him. When they sit here and deny how good every other quarterback is, and they only want to talk about how great he is, or how everybody's out to get him, and how, I'm just saying, like, I sound like a hater at this point, and I'm not. I just get sick of worship. People don't realize how much they worship folks, and the same thing with Stevie when it comes to Charlie Kirk and individuals like this. He worships him so much he completely ignores the fact that all the bad stuff that happened to all the black folks that we always keep bringing up about George Floyd, Trayvon Martin. There's so many black people that have died, unfortunately. Brianna, I mean, dude, I can't even think of all names. Oh my God. I'm literally blanking on a whole bunch of them, but it doesn't matter. The list is so long, it makes you truly sad. The obituary is just like credits to a video game. Damn, it's a long list of names. But yet, for whatever reason, he refuses to acknowledge that even happened. He doesn't even believe that there's AI George Floyds and KFC outfits looking like Colonel Sanders. That's real. I thought that was so fun. Like, it was so racist. It was actually hilarious. Like, the racism that exists on the internet is literally, it's really ballsy that people go to the extents that they do, but they really do. Like, even amongst a group of like-minded individuals like we had on the live stream the other night, we don't always agree on everything. Jew and Watts clearly don't look at the situation between how people handled the death and how they processed what happened to Charlie Kirk the same, whether it was live or they saw the news.
To me, I understand that the fact that he died on camera makes it much more graphic, much more in your face. But at the end of the day, murder's murder.
People were able to see that video until the end of time now, right? They're able to see that man go out the way that he did, and knowing up until this, I can't compare someone else that had the amount of influence Kirk had. You know what I mean? If he hadn't been murdered in front of everyone at once, your analogy, your comparison would be fair, man. But you can't.
This was the point that I actually agreed with Stevie on, that murder happening on camera is definitely more impactful and more traumatic to anybody watching it. So the public does view that event much differently than somebody dying off camera. And the opposite point was death is death. If you die, you die. Whether people see it on camera or not, it has the same impact. I definitely disagree with Abba. I hate the comparison of Charlie Kirk and George Floyd, but George Floyd was somebody that died on camera, start to finish. The same as Charlie Kirk. So you can see how those deaths would impact people differently. So I think Stevie was right in that aspect of this conversation.
So dying on camera makes a murder worse?
No, not the murder worse, but the effect that has on the people is worse because everybody can see it.
I don't know, man. Like, it's like when you hear stupid shit, you start to question your own intelligence, because what he said, and I'm not trying to talk crazy or anything, but what he said is indeed fucking stupid, because Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., JFK, all of these people were shot. And people have heard about it across the nation, right? And it had a crazy impact. It's especially Malcolm and Martin. So it being on camera is totally irrelevant. The fact that it happened in general, that is the part that is the most important. Matter of fact, nobody is having conversations online about, oh man, this Charlie Kirk shit is big because it happened on camera. Nobody's making that point. Matter of fact, that was a secondary conversation that I had on my Charlie Kirk video. That was a secondary conversation because I said we should not be able to easily see another man get unalived that easily. That is a fucking secondary conversation. There have been a lot of people that have died and we haven't seen it on camera that created an impact. What are you talking about?
Now me, I'm more of the, in the boat of Watts, where I actually just mostly, it hit me the same as when I saw it. Like, it was really bad when I saw it, but when I saw the text literally say that CK had been shot and killed, and I was like, wow, wait, is this real? The first thing I went to go do was to substantiate the story that I saw and found out it was real, but the impact had already hit me when I saw it on text. I didn't even have to see the video. It was just like, wow, that was impactful. I understood the impact it had. You know what I'm saying? I understood the gravity of the situation. Now, I do understand, overall, I do agree with you with the fact, when you see things, it really sticks in your mind way more. So there's part of that aspect I do understand as well. Because, when you see things, sometimes some images just do not disappear. So, why I presented it to you earlier about what's more traumatizing. That's why I brought it up.
And Watts, to your point, I'm just the type of person that I don't agree with everybody, right? If I don't agree with you, I don't agree with you. But I would respect you for standing 10 toes down on what you believe. We don't gotta agree, but it's if I know where you stand, you don't like black people, cool, respect. We can stay out of each other's space, but I'm not gonna argue.
Glad I know.
Now, in Stevie's most recent video talking about how everybody was calling him a Sly Cooper, he revealed the fact that people were calling him a coconut, which I know a lot of people were confused by that term. I was as well, but it did hit me pretty quickly what they were talking about. Brown on the outside, white on the inside. Coconut. Or maybe they were being really racist and they were saying hairy on the outside, white on the inside. So basically saying he's a monkey and then he's white internally. I mean, whatever that means. But maybe that's what they were getting at by calling him a coconut. But I did figure that out quickly and I felt good about that. Now, I've alluded to it in this video so far, but I didn't really dive into it about the whole pro-life, the abortion takes that they had. But I've never understood the concept of pro-life, where we clearly don't value one life in favor of the other. Like, I mean, look, if you're going to just end one life to preserve the life of another, how do you say you're really pro-life? Because the life that was already here was really living, and you're going on the chances that the other one is actually going to make it, to say we need to go ahead and kill the other one to make sure this maybe life survives. It's always been really confusing to me.
We comparing killed babies to babies that are alive.
Now, my biggest issue with Stevie overall is he's a guy who has zero stances on anything. I mentioned that earlier, but it's just true to me, because having zero stances is the weakest way of absolving yourself from like any insane takes you may have, because you can always just say, well, it didn't really matter to me. Or when you're out here clearly talking about abortion being evil and killing babies, or if you don't, I don't care what anyone's stance is, or I wouldn't care if babies were dying. I mean, look, my thing is this: if you're going to say I don't care what anyone's stance is, then truthfully, you don't really care if the babies died or not. I mean, you don't really give a crap how it made people feel, because you said you didn't care either way. At least that's what it comes off to me. Like, maybe I'm different, or maybe I'm wrong when it comes to that. But Stevie is okay with everyone doing whatever they want or saying whatever they want with no regulations, no repercussions or anything like that, because he has no stances. Now, Stevie's all upset because people are making jokes about his boy being deleted, and he's just saying that he was a freedom of speech advocate.
I mean, it kind of goes to what I was saying initially,
That
where
nigga's sweating, boy.
it was like minimizing the effects of Charlie's tragedy and bringing up other examples to compare it to. And
I mean, like, look, I do not condone people celebrating the loss of life. I do think that's terrible. It's an awful thing to do, and I believe majority of people stand with me when it comes to that. But you can't sit here and say that people can say whatever the heck they want, but be upset when they say things you do not like. Like, that is the most hypocritical shit you can possibly say. He's upset that people could see this traumatizing death, but why was everybody able to see it? Oh, maybe because your messiah Elon thinks there shouldn't be a lick of censorship at all. You know, maybe everything should be able to be seen, because it is just as simply as clicking on that app and you can go out there and find whatever you want, no matter how terrible it seems to be, because you said you really support, you know, Elon and all this wild west platform that he has going on out there on Twitter, right? So since this was more traumatizing than watching Glenn get his head bashed in by Negan in The Walking Dead, then why wasn't there censorship? If you're walking around here upset at folks for making jokes, or why the fact that it's available, we shouldn't be able to see such horrible things to happen to our heroes, then why wasn't there censorship on that website? You can't be this hypocritical. You can't believe, oh, we shouldn't censor anything, and then all of a sudden you get upset when things don't go your way. Now, I know I rambled a lot there, but I hope some of that made sense. Because honestly, when it comes to all this censorship, it sounds to me like this is something that the government would regulate. At least I would think so. But I thought he said we don't need government to be out here in our lives every day trying to save everybody. I'm confused, my man. This is what happens when you don't have definitive takes. You just sound like a short bus shorty, a meat-headed Jim bro, attention span of a mummy with the brain capacity of a freaking floppy disk. Stevie doesn't even realize he's just another one of those thoughts and prayers bros. Just like we have here in Nashville, every time a heinous, event takes place, it's just thoughts and prayers. We need more good guys with guns. What could you do about the murderer with the gun? He was going to do it anyway. He was already a crazy person with the gun. So you just need more good guys with guns to stop bad guys with guns. That's the kind of person that Stevie is. Now, me, I'm a gun advocate, and I believe you should have your weapons. But I also think it's a red flag, just like it is with all these individuals who do go out here and commit these mass atrocities. There's always a manifesto that was littered with more red flags than the yellow brick road had yellow bricks. I mean, hot damn, there's always so much evidence, but yet they always seem to ignore that. What I also find crazy is the fact that Stevie was exposed to some terrible information later. I ask you seriously, not to be mean or anything like that, but when you listen to these two individuals debate and talk to each other, engage, facial expressions, body language, whatever you want to go ahead and base it off of, who do you really think is more intelligent and the better debater?
Do you think that traditions and values are logic based?
It's a twofold. Some of it is based on religion, but then you can apply logic to it. You know what I mean? Because it's been a tradition because something has worked for so long. right? So if it's working, we built this logic to know it works this way. We sustain the quality of life for this long, so we know based on our tradition that this thing works. And then when we take logic, take tradition and values away, we have this mess we're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd fundamentally disagree with that. People have done certain things for thousands of years, from human sacrifices to all kinds of really fucked up traditions.
Who do you think is the one who's actually more grounded in their beliefs? Who's the individual who you think actually uses facts? Who's the one who's not using just opinions, using circumstantial evidence to give their self like an actual genuine take instead of just basing it off asshole emotion? Well, you always would think it would be somebody like Stevie, the guy who believes that everything is logical when you're looking at things from the right red lens. That's him. But he really just exposes himself in this debate for just not being overly intelligent or just stepping into lanes that he doesn't belong in, because I don't think he's a stupid guy. It's just like me. I'm not smart. I'm not a smart guy, but I'm not stupid either. Like, I can be in a room with smart individuals and understand what they're talking about. Now, I might not be able to go out there and absorb all that, knowledge and be able to just translate it to some other individual out there on the street. I don't have that kind of skill unless it's a smaller level type of activity or something, a concept that I really can grasp. But when you're talking about rocket science and super calculus and stuff like that, you might lose me a little bit. But when I hear people like Stevie talk, he makes me feel like I'm the individuals that I don't quite understand all the way when I'm talking to them. It's like, damn, he makes me feel like I'm the rocket scientist. And that is a really sad state of affairs, considering I was the one who definitely failed 5th grade. So I'm trying to figure out how he could be this dumb. I would like to believe that he probably didn't have the path that I did. He probably didn't have to have hooked on phonics since he was a kid because his parents were concerned that he might be special needs or something like that. Not true, but I'm just saying it is funny for me to think about. It is one of those, like, why did we have some of these like extra educational books lying around my room? Did you think I was going to be dumb? Well, you know what? I bet Stevie's parents are probably wishing that they had that for him now, because he's out here exposing himself, balls out here on the internet. I mean, it's sad, man. Now, see, I be keeping up with Stevie because I like Stevie's channel. It just feels like he's a guy who's basically a meatheaded gym bro who's decided to dive into politics and dive into really intellectual and complicated matters that he really doesn't need to be talking about, when he really needs to just stick to hip hop and really just some commentary comments, when it comes to like relationships and stuff like that, because he can be funny. But when he starts giving his opinions on stuff that he doesn't really know himself about, then he just starts to sound crazy. But the man looked up, talking about, he was really curious, right? He wanted to know who was really more violent, because he's always talking about these demons and these devils and these evil people that exist on the far left, because these leftist activists, because obviously if you listen to the stuff he's been perpetuating, he's always talking about the extreme leftists. They're the violent ones, because on the far right, that's what they believe. It's all this violence that's been happening out here is by extreme leftists, and they're the ones that's out of control, when we all know statistically, historically, the most heinous and horrible crimes that's taken place are by alt-right individuals.
In the past decade, and list the most notorious ones, I guess, even though they're all notorious. Short answer: U.S. data are tracked by ideology, not by party. Across roughly the last decade, far-right white supremacists and other right-wing extremists account for the clear majority of extremist-related killings in the U.S., with far smaller shares from Islamist extremists and very small shares from far-left actors. The pattern is consistent across multiple data sets. Makes sense. Notorious U.S. extreme killings: Charleston Church, South Carolina, white supremacists. Charlottesville car attack, right-wing, one killed during Unite the Right rally. The Tree of Life Synagogue, Pittsburgh, right-wing, anti-Semitic, 11 killed. Poway, right-wing, 1 killed, anti-Semitic. El Paso Walmart, right-wing, white supremacist, 23 killed. Yeah, anti-Semitic. January 6th, U.S. Capitol, right-wing, anti-government, multiple deaths tied to the event. Yeah.
That was 2 weeks ago when he came to that realization and realized, like, oh wow, yeah, there are some crazy people on the right. This side that I really support, even though he acts like he's not a far right, he is, well, maybe he's not far right, but he's definitely on the right. He said it, he has conservative views. That's basically the sign he aligns with, because he never signs off with anything that Democrats say, which is okay, you don't have to, but it just shows that you have a bias. And that's what the most infuriating part about listening to Stevie is. You can tell it hurt him to see that information, because he trusts ChatGPT. Stevie is one who really wants to believe that the side he stands on is the side of morality, the side of stoicism, the side that is very logical. He repeats that word a lot, logical. The other side isn't logical. They're demonic, they're evil, they want to do terrible things. But when you listen to him talk about the other side, the people who condemn or the people who condone the actions of what happened to his hero, that's when he starts to get upset, and he sounds just like the people he criticizes.
Demonizes Kirk. Right. When he posed the question to me, I said I wouldn't be against the government if that passed. Right. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be against it, but I'm not going to demonize Kirk for having this stance. And I understand Kirk's perspective, bro. But he just running with the negative shit that, I don't know, this must have got to him.
It must have got to Abba. It seems like it got to you. This body language that you're displaying here on the screen shows somebody who is upset, somebody who is highly emotional, somebody who's sad in their feelings. That's exactly what this looks like. This looks like you've gotten pressed to the point that you're exhausted now. Now you officially have black fatigue. You got Abba and Preach fatigue, a platform that you seem to have loved in the past, but all of a sudden, now that you challenged them like people have challenged them before and all got defeated, you got defeated now. Now you're acting just like all the other people who got defeated, saying, oh, guess what? You know, Abba ain't shit. You know what? He's over here taking me out of context and ain't really using the right perspectives, when it's like, oh, all the other times he debated everybody, he was in good faith. He used facts just like he did with you. But this time, it's not good faith. He was just somehow making this stuff up out of his ass, like that tapeworm I was referencing. You know what? No.
Some big ass YouTuber, some big ass personality on YouTube that's going to get him views. Like, this really must have struck him the wrong way. So he must have only heard what he wanted to hear.
Okay, see, this is the clip that really started getting us all triggered on the platform when we were all on the live stream together, because this is the point. He only heard what he wanted to hear. When they say that the phone or the call is coming from inside the room, it's Stevie on the other line talking to Stevie. He just doesn't understand. This is all him. This is exactly what he's been doing every time he opens his mouth. It's truly astonishing to watch somebody lack so much self-awareness in real time. I mean, I know that he records the videos, which makes it even worse, because maybe, you know, you got to give him a little bit of leeway on live stream. You be just sometimes speaking in an endless, you know, amount of consciousness where you're not really paying attention sometimes to what you're saying. Words just come out and they might not always attach themselves to make proper sentences. It's like that sometimes if you're trying to, speak to people live. I see it and I give them grace for it. But when you're recording videos, and that's why sometimes I give myself a hard time, but you know what? You just got to go with it. But I try to make sure I'm not ever this type of hypocritical, because this is crazy. I mean, dude, you are literally talking about yourself. I mean, you are the Green Goblin staring himself in the mirror, not acknowledging the fact that you are the Green Goblin. Now, I don't want to give him that much credit because that makes him seem more badass than what he is, and really he's just a dumbass instead of a badass, and that's just kind of where we are when we're reviewing this video. But this dude is acting like he's not a big platformer. He's not a big YouTuber. Stevie, with all his channels combined, basically has just as many subscribers as Abba and Preach. He wants to act like he's just some old little lonely YouTuber out here. No, you're not, dude. Cry me a bitch ass river. What are you doing, man? I mean, seriously, you really want to go with that argument that you're not that big? Your channel hit 1 million subscribers this year. Just because you put this on Night Talk that has over 500,000 subscribers doesn't mean you're less than like that. Well, why don't you go to the platform that has more subscribers? And I guess you would be more on even territory, but you didn't want to get it, on that level. You don't want to get with that level of smoke.
I feel like you got a lot of right-wing bias. I feel like you call, and when
I do.
Yeah.
I can agree with you.
Yeah, in the video, you said that you feel like the left is the emotionally driven side. Do you feel like the right is more logical? You said the left is more emotional, so I feel like you think the right is more logical.
Yeah, I'd agree with that take.
So you don't feel like the right engages in a lot of hysteria or a lot of emotionality?
Yeah, they do.
Do you feel?
I think a valid, I guess, a label for the left. I mean, with the whole different nuance, there's much more nuances in different ways that the left operates, man. Outside of like racism and racism, I feel like the right gets crazy extremists with racism and like transphobia or whatnot, man. But there's just lots of spectrums to perspectives and different ways of looking at life and mental health type of things that derive mentally and emotionally from the left, which is propagated mostly on. I mean, all I see is on social media, but that doesn't appear as much on the right. It's usually like a nationalist or some white supremacist or some anti-gay that's out here doing the utmost.
Yeah. Okay.
There's not a lot of conversations as far as gender dysphoria. That's a mentally emotional type of conversation that is very relevant. The whole LGBTQ thing, and you get children involved and all, like it's much more nuanced, much more layered. The right wing is much simple. It's more based on traditions and values, and then you got motherfuckers that are super traditional and super values, and that's when it gets hateful.
Do you feel like the right is more logical? You said the left is more emotional.
The fact he had to think
about it. I was gonna say, realize he had to think about it.
So you don't feel like the right engages in a lot of hysteria or a lot of emotionality?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
I think a valid.
He's thinking in real. He has to think about these
label.
Things.
It's like you see the gears spinning at the top of his head.
Dude, I see buffering all day long.
There's much more nuances in
this is all
ways
happening right now,
man. Outside of like racism and racism.
There's a difference in when you're trying to find correct words, because I know sometimes when you're, especially in a debate, when you want to find a word so nobody can mischaracterize what you're saying. You want to find a correct word, and that may take time. This man is thinking about entire concepts right now. He has no idea what he's trying to say, and is trying to make it make sense so he doesn't look bad. Period.
And you know what? I have to give kudos to Abba right here, because if this was me in this debate, I would have stopped. It would have been very quiet, and I would have been like, "What the fuck did you even just say?"
He was being nice to that nigga, bro. Abba was being so nice. I'm telling you, he was being nice, because I was like,
I said that at the end of my video. Yeah. I said he did not go halfway as hard as he could.
Hey. Spinning tires. But speaking of spinning, let's talk about how much his head was spinning when it came to this beatdown that he got served up on this celebrity boxing match. This happened a couple years ago, and just like Watts, I had no idea this existed, and thank goodness I was tuned into this live stream, and as soon as I saw it, I knew that this was going to be incorporated into this video, and it was going to be my most exciting parts. There's definitely going to be a part 2 to this, but let's go ahead and finish strong.
Apart, but they could not be any farther apart, Grish, when it comes to demeanor, personality. Yes, D'Amour's demeanor is certainly more uppity than Stevie Knight. Stevie Knight just wants to come in and knock him out. Chase D'Amour would love to put on a show. He just gave me the little side eye from up in the ring. He heard what you just said about him. Hey,
no, not Dom.
It's true. Look at Chase D'Amour, who's wearing the white. He's got the big height and reach advantage. Don't want to be caught reaching, though, do you?
Oh, damn. Oh, my gosh. He's not bluffing.
And this didn't take long to get high. These two might as well be out on Bourbon Street throwing hands outside the club. It's one of those fights.
Damn!
He's saying, I slipped. Well, he slipped with the help of a right hand.
He slipped with the help of a right hand.
Oh boy, D'Amour
did not know this existed.
Someone that can hit as hard. It's one of those fights. Second time competitively. More rights landing for Chase. He's got that chin high though. And right now, Chris, Stevie's going in, but he put his head down. You can't go in with your head down and not expect to get hit.
Right.
See your opponent. Stevie Knight's gonna try and land that big overhand right. And Chase DeMoore's chin is right there if he can find it.
He is putting his head down a lot. Stevie really doesn't want to get hit. It's apparent.
Now they gotta be careful. You cannot hit in the back of the head. There's Gideon, big name in the influencer world, taking in the action here, and plenty of it in this round one. I gotta tell you, a lot of the influencers that have been here that have come up and introduced themselves to you and I.
You can tell he started to get tired already.
Very respectful. I like the community.
He's just throwing blind punches.
I know you fit in well. You got a huge Instagram. Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Also, he's literally mirroring all of his punches. Like, you could tell what he's gonna do before he even does it.
Oh no.
God damn.
That is way too much. They may storm the ring. Times when he's down. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second.
Oh.
We can't have this. We cannot have this. Hey, Chase DeMoore, though, man, that is as low as you can get. Punching a man in his face multiple times while he's down.
Yeah, hold on.
Again!
God damn. Okay, yeah, he's down. He's down. Why is he still punching? He's down. He is down. Why are you still going? First of all, god damn. Whoo! Look how his, oh my gosh. Look at this leg right here. Damn. Y'all see this leg? But why are you still punching? And granted, I know these guys are not professional boxers, but you should know not to keep punching when a man is down.
Now, I know the edit was probably funny, but on a serious note, shout out to Stevie for even going out there and boxing that dude. The dude he was fighting was hella huge. I don't care what reality TV show he came from. Like he was giving up some size advantage to homeboy there. So the fact that he went out in the ring, yeah, he got served. He got completely TKO'd in an embarrassing fashion like it was straight out of anime, but it's okay. It's okay. I've seen some people get some hella beatdowns. I mean, he took a Vegeta type of beatdown out there. I mean, it was ugly, but he went out there and fought. Now, a fight that I would like to see is what if Stevie got in the ring against, Myron, Mr. Why Women Deserve Less. I wonder what that boxing match would look like with Myron and his elite hands, right? Pause. But still, I mean, he probably got, hey, Myron supposedly has elite hands, but they're just not in the boxing ring. If you catch what that's so effed up. But anyway, well, I just wanted to go ahead and end this video on something light, considering, some of the heavy subject matter that we discussed in today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Please like, share, hype the video as we are continuing to try to explode here at Random University. There may be a chance I could somehow get to 10K by the end of the year. If we can do that, thank goodness. I mean, what a miracle that would be. It would give me renewed hope for the future. But anyway, God, family, clout. Can't ever forget that. And also remember, forgive Stevie. He's in the sunken place. See you soon.